Terima kasih. Thank you very much for coming this afternoon to Tenaganita's press conference on the amnesty program that is currently ongoing with documented workers, and hopefully that on August 1st, the second round with undocumented workers will happen. This press conference is held specially because we have very great concerns over the whole amnesty program and using of the biometric system as a way or portrayed as an answer to resolving the situation of undocumented migrant workers in this country. Today with me are Kopila, and Kopila is from the Nepal Labour Organization, a migrant association that works with the Nepali migrant workers in this country, and she will later share their concerns on the amnesty program. This side is Aziz. Aziz from API, and he has been dealing with a lot of undocumented workers and workers who have been trafficked in this country. And he has also a lot of issues in relation to looking at who is documented and undocumented, and he will later also share after I have got my press statement through. I'm not going to read, but I'm going to say what are essentials in the statement. We know that 1.5 months ago, in June 5th, the Deputy Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin, as chairperson of the Cabinet Committee on Migrant Workers, announced that there will be an amnesty program for over 2 million migrant workers in this country who are deemed to be undocumented. Now, he also said that this is going to be a very comprehensive program called the 6P, and that includes registration, amnesty, enforcement, deportation, monitoring, etc., and that constitutes the 6P program. Now, while on paper the 6P program looks comprehensive, there's been growing concern because of postponements to the actual amnesty program taking place. 3 times it has been postponed, supposed to be July 11th, then it went to July 18th, and now to August 1st. In the initial comprehensive program that was announced, the documented workers were not supposed to be part of this plan. And then suddenly we hear that now all migrant workers have to go through the biometric system, and therefore the documented workers have to come in place. Now, in the early announcement, it was also said that the undocumented workers will only have to pay 400 ringgit and 400 saja. Yeah, 300 as compound and 100 for the special pass for 1 month. So that was what was the announcement by the Deputy Prime Minister himself. Now, as time went on, the figure also began to change. It went from 300 to 500, and some began to say 300 to 700, and this has created a whole lot of confusion. The next, therefore, what our concern is that the announcement made on June 5th, and then consequently various changes have been made to the comprehensive amnesty program. For a start, the program was postponed, as I mentioned. Then the undocumented workers came in. Thus, the focus has been now shifted to more than 2 million workers. It's documented, undocumented will come to about almost 3.5 or 4 million migrant workers who will now be using the biometric system. Now, last weekend, there were already reports that the immigration centers could not cope with the registration of documented workers, and employers were also very concerned that they will not be able to meet the deadline in bringing the workers. It's only this weekend that is left now for the documented workers. Then we had another statement also saying that those who register early will be given priority when they want to bring new migrant workers into the country. Now, if you're not able to cope with the situation, and then now you're penalizing employers for not bringing the workers early, for me, there is a deep problem in how the management of this whole registration exercise is about. Going on, we are also concerned that the various changes being made and looking at this whole problem is really being riddled with a lack of planning and lack of clarity on meeting the objectives of amnesty program for undocumented workers. The Home Ministry does not seem to have a clear and proper plan for dealing with the undocumented migrant workers amnesty program. The reason given by the Home Ministry is that the registration of undocumented migrant workers to August 1st was that the machinery was not ready and 5,000 personnel need to be trained. Now, why were these basic aspects of the program not addressed at the planning stage? There are too many unanswered questions, uncertainties, and doubts shrouding the amnesty program. Migrant workers now fear to come forward to use the opportunity provided in the amnesty program. Due to the various changes made during the last month and a half, even embassies are unsure about how the amnesty program works and what advice they should give to their nationals. The Sun newspaper rightly raised doubts in its editorial on June 24th as to whether this year's amnesty program will work. Tenaganita has the same concerns. This amnesty program will be the third one since the OPSNIA in 2005. Now, in spite of the massive arrests and detention of migrant workers, the institutionalization of RELA, which has now more than 1 million volunteer members with powers to enter premises of migrants and refugees and to arrest them, the number of undocumented migrant workers continues to remain at least at 1.5 million or more. Undocumented migrants are not only those who have entered the country illegally. I think this is a very important issue to understand. We have reason to believe that the vast majority of the currently undocumented workers entered the country legally and subsequently overstayed because their work permits were not renewed or renewed fraudulently by employers. Many migrant workers have been brought in by unscrupulous agents and made to work in areas not specified in their work visas. We have had many cases of workers coming under the plantation visa and then being made to work as security personnel or in other small enterprises. Now, this is very serious, and actually the immigration should actually provide the answer to this situation. Now, besides that, we also have had cases where migrant workers again are brought by companies, particularly like outsourcing, made to work in different places and thus tend to be seen to be undocumented. Now, a significant number of the workers were brought into this country through the outsourcing companies in 2007 and 2008, particularly Bangladeshi workers, where calling visas have not been converted into work permits. Instead, the workers were sold from employer to employer by agents. And this has become a very huge problem, where a large number are now working as undocumented workers, not through their own fault. This amnesty program, even with the use of the biometric system, will fail if the root causes of workers being made undocumented are not addressed. The system of recruitment and placement of migrant workers is riddled with rapid approvals without verification, recruitment agents and irresponsible employers who are not made accountable. Corruption still remains a strong factor, both in approvals and in investigation of visa manipulation. And to top it all, the Home Ministry has failed to develop a comprehensive policy on migrant workers as proposed by civil society and the trade union movement since 2007. The question that arises is whether this whole amnesty program is a way to make money. Who will make the money and for what purpose? Who are the 300 companies that have been approved and what criteria was applied in making the decisions? Though 1,400 companies had applied to become registration agents, we are unclear of the criteria used to select the 300 companies. In 2006, when over 200 companies were approved as outsourcing companies, many of these companies did not even have a proper office. In the trial of Wahid, the former Director General of Immigration, it was revealed that many of the outsourcing companies contributed towards political financing. In 2011, today, where there are speculations of impending general elections, will history repeat itself? The biometric system only addresses the identity of the migrant worker, but the violations are done by recruitment agencies, employers, or enforcement agencies. How will this process of using the biometric system address the root causes of the problem? Will not the Home Ministry, in its enforcement of the various acts, be victimizing the victim, that is, the migrant worker? Malaysia remains for the second year in the second-tier watch list in the US report on human trafficking. It is serious. In spite of enacting the Anti-Trafficking Persons Act and MAPO, which is the Malaysian Council for the Anti-Trafficking Program, printing out a national plan of action, we have not progressed in effectively addressing human trafficking in the country. One key factor is that the government is not taking action in the root causes of human trafficking in this country. The amnesty program needs more than the biometric system. The current government knows that the nation will continue to rely more and more on migrant workers in the years to come. Unless and until there is a strong political commitment to ensure protection of rights of migrant workers, stamp out the causes that fan and facilitate an environment for human trafficking, fraud and exploitation, the biometric system will fail as it did in 2006, where 300,000 Bangladeshi workers were brought in through the outsourcing system and the biometric system were used then. We therefore call on the Home Ministry to halt the amnesty program. The ministry itself must be clear on what it wants to achieve and how the employer and the migrant worker will benefit from the program. Many small enterprises and businesses are finding it difficult to raise 80,000 ringgit or more to register 20 workers. The ministry must provide very clear guidelines to all on the amnesty program and ensure that it has the capacity to monitor the registration so that no one is cheated. Now, this is the statement and the position from Tenaganita.